Hey guys, give yourself a pat on the back for clicking through. Most people don't take that step. I want to commend you for that. We're action takers here and love to see it. What I'm about to tell you, I think has the potential to impact your life. I know it does, and I'm very confident that you're going to enjoy what I'm about to tell you. My name is Scott Ulmer. I'm the CEO and founder of Little Pink Houses of America and Pink House International. I'm the owner of All Due Respect Media, and as we say around here, I'm the pretty face of the company, but you can tell that's not true by looking at it here. I've been doing real estate over 23 years, full-time, come from a real estate family. It's in my blood. Up to this point, I've done over 2,500 deals, and I'm just getting started. I've always had a specialization and a focus on what's considered creative or non-traditional real estate. In real estate, you can buy houses really one of two ways. You can write a check or pay cash and or go to the bank, or you can do something non-creative or non-traditional or creative, which really encompasses terms and negotiating in a little bit of a different way. That's what we do here. It's very niche specific. It's a weird strategy, which is part of why you clicked in. But what's weird about it is that it really can be tremendously effective and be very, very lucrative. In a second here, I'm going to give you an example of a deal that we did with our partners in Arizona. Very proud of them. It was their first deal, and they made $16,500. Get this, in 14 days from contract to close. When they put under contract with the seller to buy the house to when they were able to sell it to one of the buyers that they were working with was 14 days, and they brought in $16,500. One of the things we talk about here is that not many people in their life have a chance to bring that kind of check home. Most people work paycheck to paycheck, and even if they make a good living, they don't get the chunk money or the lump sums like that, and sometimes we lose sight of what that can do for people's lives. I assume it would do wonders for your life. I know what chunk money has done for my life over the years. It's a great strategy. It's a great business. It can yield great results. It's a little weird, which is why we like it. But at the end of the day, you're going to see the merits of the deal. In just a second, I'm going to walk you through it. I'm going to walk you through the formulas that we use, the specific strategies, give you some good nuances. Hopefully you get some good takeaways. But I'm going to hop over to the whiteboard right now, walk you through it. If you have any questions, make sure you let us know, and I hope you enjoy the next segment. Hey guys, I want to walk you through a recent deal example we did in Avondale, Arizona, which is a suburb of Phoenix, with some of our partners out there. Very proud of them. They did a great job. You'll see the results here in just a second. Let me go ahead and hop right in. Every deal that we do has 4 primary terms. Now, there are more than just 4 terms, but there are 4 primary terms that we have to figure out before we can talk about anything further. Further terms would be things like, are we going to offer a home warranty? Are we going to give possession on a certain date? When are they closing? There are other things that are really important, but unless we've gotten through the 4 primary terms, anything subsequent to that doesn't really matter. That's something we train. It's easy to get caught up in other kind of intangibles that are not as important. In this case, we're working on 4 primary terms. Let me go ahead and walk you through those. First is the purchase price. Second is going to be the monthly payment. Third is going to be the money that is put down toward the property. And fourth is going to be the term or the length of the agreement. In this case, Robert and Monica, sellers that we're working with in Avondale, we're asking $355,000 for the home. We're looking for a $2,000 a month payment, which is not bad compared to the price. They were looking for money down. Almost every seller we work with is looking for money down. Not every seller gets money down, but in about half the deals, we split what is put on the table from our buyer with the seller. And of course, the term is a question mark. We leave it as a question mark because we haven't identified our buyer yet. We don't want to box ourselves into a time frame that we don't know that we can commit to before we've identified our buyer. Once we have a buyer that's interested in the home, they have the right stuff, which I'll talk about in just a second, and they've gone through our vetting and underwriting program, we know how much time they're going to require in the term. That's when we'll come back and ultimately fill that in. So these are the 4 primary terms. Now, we have a question here that we call magical. When we ask it, the results it has yielded can be quite astounding. And so what we've learned over time is that every seller lists the property a little high with the intent to take an offer. So the question that we always ask, which is a trick, is out of 10 sellers, how many are going to list it high with the intent to take an offer? And the answer is 11. Now, every once in a while, you get a quirky person who says, no, that's my bottom number, I'm not going any lower. But that is very much the exception and not the norm. Every seller listed a little high, assuming that they're going to have an offer made and they have some fluff factor or wiggle room built in. And so we have a question, and we have several variations, but it really goes like this. Mr. Seller, let me ask you a question. Let's assume we identify a great buyer, either from our buyers list that we're currently working with or from the new marketing efforts that we'll undertake once we have your home under an agreement. The terms that we're bringing to the table ultimately are favorable to you. We like the buyer. They're a good fit for the home. They love the home. At the end of the day, we think it's a really good deal as a whole. What's the least you can take on the price and still walk away happy? Now, we have several variations of it, but at the end of the day, what we're asking for our sellers is, look, we know you've got a little fluff built in there. Under the right circumstances, and that's always the key, under the right circumstances, would you consider taking less? And if that's the case, let's go ahead and put that on paper. That will be the number that we end up working with. So in this case, we asked the question, and Robert and Monica dropped to $340,000. They literally dropped $15,000. Now, most cases, they're going to drop at least 10, somewhere between 10 and 20. We actually had one where they dropped $150,000. That's a whole nother story. But again, when you ask the question the right way, very softly, our approach is very soft here, you're almost always going to get the seller to drop a bit. By the way, they also know that once we have an agreement with them, the first thing we're going to do is add our margin or our spread on top. So the price that we have under contract to buy the home for is not the price we're going to end up selling it for. And our sellers understand that. We're very, very big on transparency. So first thing we do is we now have an agreement to buy the home at $340,000. We then take the property back out to the price that we believe is marketable. Now, we comp every house. We make sure that it will appraise today. We make sure that it is a fair market value. Now, we can't control the appraisal 12 months from now, but as long as the the appraisal and the values are there today, we're comfortable working with it. This one comped out every day of the week at $355,000, so we're very comfortable taking it back out. Along come Alicia and Pete. They own a blacktop asphalt company, self-employed business owners. We realized several years ago are really one of the biggest demographics that we target. There's two rules when you're a self-employed business owner. Rule number one is you make as much money as you can. Rule number two is pay as little taxes as you can. We understand the nature of that, but the problem or the quandary that those folks face is that even though they either generate a lot of money or have access to a lot of money, when they write everything off and they have a very low net on their tax return, it's going to hurt their ability to borrow at a bank. Banks lend on tax returns. Of course, there are other factors, but they're looking at your net income on your tax returns. So very big demographic for us are those folks that own businesses that are considered self-employed. Lisa and Pete were prime examples of that. Great buyers. Ultimately, they came to the table. One of the things that we train is how to guide the buyer to the offer you like. Now, let me say again, we're very soft with our approach here. We're not hard sales. We're not salesy. We don't like to squeeze people. We don't like to be squeezed, so we don't like to squeeze people. So our approaches are always going to be soft. It's got to be the right fit, the right circumstances, the right terms and conditions for the buyer. But in those situations, if we see that, we're certainly going to obviously try to put the best deal together we can. When you guide the buyer to the offer you're looking for their best interest, if they love the home, they can see this being the home for the next several years of their life, this is for their family, let's put our best foot forward and get the property secured. Let's come to the table with a very strong offer and not go back and forth. We don't like to haggle. I don't know anybody that likes to haggle. So when you guide the buyer softly, in many cases, you'll get exactly what you're looking for. And it's something that we do a pretty good job of training. And so in this case, the buyers came to the table with $355,000, exactly what we're asking. They put $28,500 down. We're able to get them to that number, which is a very good down payment. Typically we require 5 to 10% of what we're asking. So they're falling right in that range, close to the 10%, but that's what we're able to get them up to. They were comfortable with the $2,000 a month, and they needed 18 months with a 6-month GFE. Now, 18 months is longer than we would like to go typically. We usually like to keep them within 12 months or less, but guess what? We can't control that. We cannot control the time that our buyer is going to need before getting an institutional or traditional mortgage. It's based on their personal financial criteria as we sit here. We'd love to see it 12 months or less. Most of our deals are going to fall within 12 months or less, but we can't control if someone needs more time. In this case, they needed 18 months. We can't offer them less than 18 months because we would be setting them up for failure. We're big believers in win-win-win. We want to see everybody we work with happy. We want to see everybody walk away from the closing table happy. That's important to our core culture here. So we want to set them up for success. They need 18 months. That's what we're going to have to give them. Now, a 6-month GFE is this. GFE stands for good faith extension. We always like to build in a little cushion for our buyers up front. That means if life throws you a curveball within the 18 months and you're going to need more time, we've built it in for you right up front. It's a comfort factor which enables our buyers to put more money down and be more comfortable with the transaction. That is built into every deal, again, as a comfort factor, a feel good, and it certainly does go a very long way. So let me show you the best part, which is the math. On the first column here is the buyer's side. So the buyer has an agreement to buy the home at $355,000. They're putting $28,500 down. It's a non-refundable option deposit today. When they go to the bank in 18 months or less, they do have the ability to go sooner than that. No prepayment penalty. They may need 18, but if they can do it in less time, we certainly encourage them to. That money then becomes the down payment. So it's a non-refundable option deposit today. It converts their down payment when they go to the bank. Now the beauty of it is that not only do they get a dollar for dollar credit off of the price, so in this case, price minus the money that they're putting down today leaves them a balance of $326,500. That's column one. Column 2 is pink. We have an agreement to sell them the home at $355,000. We were able to negotiate with our seller, effectively splitting the $28,500. So we're taking $14,500. If we subtract that out of the $355,000, that comes to $340,500. Guys, that becomes our offer to the seller. Our offer to the seller now is $340,500. If there's $28,500 on the table for the down payment, we take $14,500. That leaves $14,000 left. That's how we came up with that. So if the seller takes $340,500, they subtract $14,000, it gives them a balance due of $326,500. So at the time that our buyer is ready to get a mortgage, the seller will be owed that, and it just so happens that that number matches. Now, I will tell you that of the monthly payments made by the buyer, there is no credit given. We don't give credits for monthly payments in almost every case. Reason being very simple. We use that as an incentive for our buyer to get their mortgage as soon as possible. Now, we know that they need 18 months. Can they do it a little sooner if things go well? The answer is yes. We want them to go sooner. We want them to go as soon as possible. We just want to see them be a happy homeowner. That's our entire premise for what we do. We create homeowners here. It's our mission, it's our purpose, it's our drive, it's our passion. So we want to see them get the deed of the home in their name, and as we say with a big smile, live happily ever after. A little corny, but we mean it certainly. So at the end of the day, receiving $14,000 up front is a pretty easy sale, making the fact, pointing out that they're going to be receiving $2,000 a month payments for 18 months. Again, longer than we wanted to go, a little longer than they wanted to go, but at the end of the day, when you're generating a positive cash flow, it can be a relatively easy sale. So let me take you to the seller category here. So the seller up front is going to receive a $14,000 non-refundable deposit. Should anything go awry with the deal, that money is dispersed at closing. It is not held in escrow. It is their money to spend. So it is not held in any way, shape, or form. We obviously don't intend on it to go awry. We intend on the deal going together, but no matter what, that money is non-refundable. If you take a $2,000 a month payment at times 18 months, that's $36,000 they're going to be receiving in the first 18 months. Should our buyer need an extra 6 months and they've gone to the bank and showed us that they can't get a mortgage, we have to give them that good faith extension. Again, the seller may not be excited about 6 more months, but guess what? They're going to be receiving another $12,000 in monthly payment. It offsets the fact that they didn't want to go a little bit longer. In this case, they're going to be generating $36,000 with the possibility of another $12,000 should our buyer need an extra 6 months. Not only do we bring a full price offer to the table, which is a really big deal, but there's no real estate commissions when you work with us, guys. Right off the bat, you're going to be saving anywhere from 3 to 6% just in commissions versus an agent if you were thinking about listing. And not only do we deal with expired listings where someone has tried to list it and sell unsuccessfully with an agent, but we also work with folks who are considering selling it through an agent where they've tried it for sale by owner, didn't have success, and now are looking at alternatives. So in either scenario, we're going to save them those commissions. And the other thing that we don't really talk about a ton is that we pre-negotiate buyer closing costs. Sometime in the last 10 to 15 years, it became a standard for every buyer to ask every seller for contributions or concessions toward their closing costs. Seller contribution toward buyer closing costs. Now, rule of thumb is 3%, guys. And in many cases, that contribution from the seller can make or break the ability for the buyer to get the loan. However, in this case, we pre-negotiate that, which again, rule of thumb 3%, you're talking over $9,000 that we're saving our seller right off of the bat. Those are really big features and benefits and why our program is very appealing for every seller. By the way, this isn't for every seller. It's got to be a good fit for them, good fit for us. It's not for every seller. So it's got to be the right fit as a whole, but those that can afford to wait have a very significant economic benefit, as you're seeing here. They were very, very happy with the deal as well. And let me take you to the best category here, which is the one that's in pink. So pink here, we made $14,500, as you can see. One of the things that we negotiate and part of our strategy is we always keep the very first month's payment. Now, there are times we will have to negotiate that and throw that back into the pot, but in every case, we're asking for the very first month's payment. So in this case, when our buyer took occupancy, we kept the first payment of $2,000, which gave us a total cash on cash today of $16,500. And as I mentioned before, it took 14 days from the time we put it under contract here to when we actually closed it with our buyer. One final point, depending on the deal and what we're able to negotiate, we will also ask for the very last payment of the term. So we don't receive that today, but sometime within the next 18 months, we'll have another check for $2,000, which would bring our total on the deal to $18,500. Biggest question I always ask is, how much money did we have in the deal to recognize that profit? And the answer was zero, the goose egg. Part of the beauty of our strategy is you don't have to lay out a bunch of capital, a bunch of cash. You don't have to risk a lot of cash in order to do this. It's all done through contracts and certainly knowledge. So very proud of our partners. They did a great job, and I know that they're happy campers as well. Look, it's a great deal, and I don't want to minimize that, but this is what we do every day here. This is bread and butter for us. If you're willing to put the time in, you're willing to follow a blueprint of which we provide you. You have good character, you want to see people happy and be successful and have win-wins at the closing table, you might be a good fit for us. Thank you for paying attention here. Rewind it if you have questions. You're going to have an opportunity to not only see some extra videos below, some testimonials, other success stories we want you to see, but you're also going to have an opportunity on my left-hand side here to see if this is a good fit for you. Look, we're not here to sell you anything. In fact, nothing will be sold on the phone call unless you ask for it. We just want to see what you're doing and if there's a way that we can help you do it better. I'd encourage you to take advantage of that opportunity. Click in, again, no obligation, but if you just want to see what we're doing and how we're doing it and see if it's a good fit for you, we would welcome that. And I've got a message for you at the bottom here. I want you to read, look at some of the other stories, and let us know if that could be you one of these days. Guys, thank you so much. Certainly appreciate you watching. We'll talk soon. Thank you.